No updates. Way to go, Ben. Recording in progress. Got it. No, I mean he's just on his normal return to play protocol. He's got cleared to start running, doing some simulated football practice stuff, but still no new update as to if and when the return is.
Was he a full participant in Tuesday's practice or was he limited?
Limited.
Okay. And then kind of like a more big picture question as we approach, the last bit of the season, with the expectations that you guys had coming into the year, regardless of how these last three games go, is it going to be like, will you feel like this year is a bit of a missed opportunity with, Talia and the roster that you guys had, and how the season has gone to this point?
You know, those are things I'll do at the end of the year. I'm not going to get into answering questions about what this year would be like or how this year. That's something at the end of the year that we'll evaluate. Obviously, we got 3 games left to play, which still has a chance to finish better than what we finished a year ago. So we still have that opportunity. But too early for me to give an overview of what this season has been or will be.
Who wants to go next? Brandon?
Hey, Coach.
What's up, Brandon?
Nothing much. So you mentioned Tuesday how the team kind of goes, how Talia goes. What specifically have you noticed with him over this stretch? Has he really kind of taken a step back in a little bit as opposed to the first start of the season?
Obviously, I think we all have, the quarterback, the coaches. It's not one person now, as we all know that the quarterback position and the play of the quarterback is paramount, and we wouldn't be in the position we're in as a program if not for Talia. I think, what you see now is a guy that is very competitive and is trying to do, instead of pointing fingers and figuring out, he's had different receivers and guys in and out, the offensive line. A lot of things affect how well he's able to play. I think he's one of those guys, though, that always looks within himself. The minute you want to place blame, you start saying, what more can I do? And that's what I've seen out of Talia. He hasn't changed his approach in how he prepares. Obviously, we've got to do a better job of keeping him protected to where, like I said, it's hard to say he hasn't played well. And very few quarterbacks go 17 or 17 in the first half of a game, and we still think maybe didn't play well. But I think what he has to be able to do is get back to where we hit these explosives. And again, it's not necessarily him as much as everyone doing their jobs a little bit better.
Thank you.
Yep.
Taylor?
Hey, Coach.
Taylor, what's up?
Going on? Last week, you talked to us about, you expected to see Colby McDonald's role grow. This past game, he outsnapped Antoine Littleton, was second behind Hemby. With 3 games left, what do you kind of envision that running back split looking like?
All those guys have they take the brunt of the reps in practice. We feel like we've got 1A, 1B, 1C, and Kobe was a guy that wasn't necessarily in the mix early, but now has worked himself into it and has really done a good job of coming in and kind of being a change of pace guy. And what he's been probably the more consistent guy in terms of making plays when given the opportunity. And I think what you'll see his role as we try to get this run game going. You'll see his role increase in terms of hopefully the touches that he'll be able to get.
Do you go into a game with a set number in your head of how many snaps or touches you want each of those guys to get, or is it more dependent on just how the game's going?
Obviously, you always want, and I do in my mind know kind of, again, the goal is to get 80 plays. And, when you start saying opportunities and touches, well, do you know how many plays we had last week? No, exactly. So we had 62. And, what happens with 62 snaps is that's about 18 lost opportunities of touches. And so, then you throw in down by a bunch of points in the third and fourth quarter, and now you have to throw the ball to try to catch up. And so, what we've got to do is find a way to get back to being able to sustain drives, play faster to be able to get the 80 plays. Like I said, we're a team that needs the opportunities. when we get to 60 plays, that means and requires that our efficiency on those 60 are really high. We have to be really high in terms of how efficient we are in our execution. When you have 80 plays, you have a little more leeway to where if you have a couple of negative plays in there. So to me, the goal is to get back to where we get close to the 80 plays, to where now we can get touches to guys. And then obviously we want to keep the game in the balance to where we're competitive throughout the game, which doesn't force us into having to do one thing to try to get back into it. So, it's the gift that keeps giving when we don't get to the 80 plays.
Go to Ahmed.
Hey, Coach.
What's up, Ahmed?
Kind of building off that a little bit, but just the tight end room. I know going into the season, you talked a lot about, the tight end room was kind of be that room, the way you talked about, or the way you kind of looked at the running back room going into last season. And I know we've gotten a chance to see, obviously a lot of Corey Dyches, a little bit of Preston Howard as well, but just kind of wanted to hear your assessment, just kind of through conference play, maybe how some of these young guys, Rico Walker, Dylan Wade, how they've fared and, how they've done in practice as well.
Yeah, I think all three of those young tight ends, Preston, Rico, and Dylan, the future looks really bright for us in that room. They're all from a size-wise fit and are the types of sizes and body types we want at the position. Obviously, Corey's production and the things he's been able to do. The toughest part with the young tight ends right now is in the run game, because now in this league they're playing against the 275-pound, 260-pound defensive ends. And as I've said on the O-line, it takes 2 years, 3 years before guys physically mature enough to hold up. We've thrown these guys into the deep end of the pool, some of these young tight ends, and they've struggled, at times. I can think back to the Ohio State game and Preston Howard, lining up over top of number 44 and really, it's a maturity thing there and size and strength. But I think the reps and what they've gone through this year, that we will be so much more benefited from them going through this growing process. But I think the room is really talented. I think they've performed about where we thought this room could perform. And I think you'll see them continue to get better now at the end of the year, because of some of the reps they've taken in practice and games.
George, do you have one?
Yeah. Hey, Mike, how's it going?
George, what's up, man?
Not much. I wanted to ask about the defensive line. These last couple of games, it seems like earlier in the game and earlier in downs, you're going with a bigger package with Trey and Isaac and Taiche there, as opposed to maybe a more quicker athletic style package with guys like Quayshawn and Jordan. Is that intentional run stop, or is it just have those guys outperformed and done better in practice and they've earned those spots to get starting and earlier in downs?
Yeah, usually it's about production. Bryant Williams does a really good job of creating competition in his room with the D-line, and this is, across the board. We're really deep at the D tackle, the interior D-line positions, including the two young guys and Dylan Fontes that have contributed, as well as Jordan Phillips and some of these other younger players. But a lot of it is based on how they've performed. Their jobs inside with the interior D-line position, are to get knocked back, to play physical, to play heavy-handed, and keep the O-line off of our linebackers to allow them to run and make plays. And, the guys that do the best job of showing the discipline of man in their gaps, we have to stop the run, and stopping the run causes you have to be physical. And so I think, Coach Williams has done a really good job that if you're doing the job at a high level, you're going to be the guy that's out on the field. And so I think it's a byproduct of production. We end up still playing a bunch of those guys, and that one position group, for the most part, we do have good depth there.
Does anyone have anything else? All right. Thanks,